we've got a few more signings to dive into.
This offense continues to evolve as the season goes on.
Welcome into Bucs Insider, presented by Hard Rock Vets Sportsbook. Casey Phillips here with Scott Smith and Bree Dix. We got a win to talk about. Back in the win column, everybody. And we got some awards. We've got very exciting news about the 50th season and what's coming. This is a show of celebration, is what I have decided. Coming out of Thanksgiving week, we got a lot to be thankful for here. The holiday spirit on our show. Let's start with some positive injury news. What did we learn?
Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan were designated to return from IR, opening up that 21-day window, and they can be activated at any point. And then both were limited in practice on Wednesday.
That's, I mean, man,
huge.
Yeah, I'm not
can't even imagine if we got everybody there.
Yeah, I'm not sure the target is this week, so let's not get everybody's hopes up too high.
Hey,
but
we've had sightings that
if we could have Mike and all those guys back for the 2 Carolina games, that would be huge.
That'd be so huge. I can't even imagine. And then also we had an award given out to someone on our special teams unit.
Riley Dixon was given the Special Teams Player of the Week award, and then you're going to touch a little bit more on some of those punts later.
Yep.
But I will point out, this is the first time we've ever had a punter, a kicker, and a return man win that award in the same season.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know there's been some up and downs for the special teams this year, but we have had some pretty high highs.
Yeah, that's very cool as well. And then, again, the 50th season we've been celebrating all season long. To me, the culmination of all of it is about to drop. Tell me what fans can be excited about.
Yeah, the Raise the Flags docuseries is dropping or debuting on Amazon Prime Video next Thursday, same night as the game against the Falcons on December 11th, and you are going to love it. If you're a Bucs fan and you're watching this, you are going to love it.
Love it. It is so good.
And it is so comprehensive.
Yeah, 50 years is crazy. To try to even, what an impossible task to try to sum up 50 years.
Well,
and they did it. They did an incredible job of it.
10 episodes. None of them are short.
Yeah.
And they, the producer, the director, Trent Cooper, Emmy Award-winning director Trent Cooper, and his great crew interviewed more than 100 people.
Including yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
And 400 hours worth of interview footage. And then they also all this archival footage. So what I would say to you to describe what this experience will be like for you as Bucs fans, you probably know a lot of the big moments, like the 1995 first round where we drafted 2 Hall of Famers, or the hiring of John Gruden in the dead of the night. All of these big moments, and the bad ones too, like the Bo Jackson thing. You don't know the whole story.
Yeah.
When it's behind-the-scenes footage.
Yes, and you're going to hear it directly from the people that were there.
Yeah, it's just going to be great. And also, I know it is the same day as the Thursday night game, but it actually, I think, is dropping early in the morning, meaning that day leading up to the game, you could already start
get psyched up a little bit.
Yeah, getting ready for the game, throw a few of those on. So can't wait for that. And then, again, the good news continues. We found out Baker Mayfield this week is going to be the Buccaneers' Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, which just so incredibly deserving. And we just want to make sure you all see this post because, again, there is a voting component of this. And so we all know that Baker is just a perfect example of what this award is about, which is excellence on and off the field. And everyone knows that is what Baker has been about ever since he set foot in Tampa. This would be a great way to tell him you see that, you appreciate that. So make sure you go vote for him. He and his wife, Emily, just do so much in the community. So very excited for him, very deserving as well. So let's dive in a little bit to that Cardinals game. After now we've gone through all this other great news, let's talk about that win. I wanted to start with Chris Godwin because this felt like his return. He had returned before
coming out party.
But this was when it's like Chris Godwin is Chris Godwin
Chris
again.
Godwin is back.
He is back, man. Looking like his old self. 3 catches for 78 yards when you were averaging 26 yards a catch.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. 44 of his 78 yards, though, were yak. And that, to me, is a great sign of he is able to make things happen after the fact, that these are not just deep bombs. He is breaking tackles. He is juking guys out. He's stiff-arming. This is peak Chris Godwin. And you know who I bet is really excited he's back besides Baker? Emeka. Because now he gets a chance to not be the only main focus of the defense. And so whatever Chris does, that's already the plus, but then it's also going to be where he's going to be helping out everybody else on the field. And what I think we've not talked enough about this season is how much Chris means to the blocking game.
Absolutely.
That we talked about it from purely just a passing standpoint, but I had Luke Gedeke on my show this week, and I thought it was a perfect chance to ask an O-lineman about this aspect of Chris and what he brings, so let's take a listen.
No, I will say hats off to our wide receivers. I mean, I've seen a lot of them doing some phenomenal jobs blocking this year. most people don't even. I mean, that's the last thing they think about is a wide receiver blocking downfield for the run. But yeah, I mean, Chris, I mean, phenomenal player. I mean, yeah, him blocking the run game as well as his production catching the ball and run after the catch. I mean, it was definitely missed, so it's great to have him back.
And perfect timing for Chris to be back to add in the blocking for the run game, thanks to Bucky Irving also being back.
Well, and the Bucs were able to have success with Sean Tucker, with Rachaad White, kind of that 1-2 punch. But Bucky Irving just brings an added element of explosion, and you saw that on Sunday. Those lateral jump cuts, the vision that he has and his ability to create what isn't there, and then had the 13-yard touchdown in the third quarter that gave the Bucs a 17-3 lead. And really on that play, so Luke Gedeke pulled across the formation, and then as you talked about, Chris Godwin made an incredible block downfield on Budda Baker to kind of create that run lane for Bucky Irving, and he finished with 81 scrimmage yards.
Yeah, one of the clips they just showed there was actually technically a 3-yard run. He ran 43.5 yards on that play.
Jeez.
Because he just kept juking guys out.
That's crazy.
Jeff Ryan and I counted it yesterday when watching while we were doing our podcast, and he made 7 guys miss on that play.
His short area quickness is just
absurd. Yeah, thank goodness he's back. He had such an exciting, dynamic element to it, and just very excited that he's back for him as well. And we all missed him.
Speaking of running.
And speaking of running, someone did it more than we thought he might have.
I really thought Baker was going to be told not to run in that game, but I guess his shoulder was feeling a lot better than we even realized. He scrambled. Now, he did, on his 3 scrambles, manage to get out of bounds on one and slide on another, and he said the hit he took on the other one wasn't bad. It wasn't directly on the shoulder. So that became a big element of the game, and you didn't think we were going to have it, and we did. So it was great to see Baker still able to do that, because that's been a very helpful part of our offense this season.
Yeah, and so, man, to go from us thinking he wouldn't even play to this, what we're watching.
21 yards right there.
What a great sign. Such a toughness to him, and of course the boost that gives to the offense. And you have Baker when you didn't know you'd need him, and you got Bucky back, and now Chris is at this form. I feel like, God, just what perfect timing on everything kind of going the right direction for this team.
You got receivers making great blocks, offensive linemen catching passes, dogs and cats are living together.
That's so true. Like our pets' heads are falling off. Like who knows what's going on here. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with more notes from that Cardinals game right after this. Back into Bucs Insider, Casey Phillips, Scott Smith, and Bree Dix. We just hit on some of the offensive notes from that Cardinals game, but on the defensive side of things, Scott, what stood out to you?
Well, Vita Vea, I think they actually reduced his snaps a little bit, and they actually did do more of a rotation because they knew the Cardinals were going to throw the ball about 50,000 times, and they did. And so I think maybe you might have a little blueprint there, because he did a great job. He had one of the sacks, as you see there. He was one of 3 different interior defensive linemen who were credited with 3 quick pressures by Next Gen Stats, which means they got the pressure within 2.5 seconds of the snap or under that. And that means it's not one of these broken play, chase them around kind of things. It's you beat your guy quickly and got back there. So I think Vita really made a big impact there. And, I know it was only 1 sack, but he was under pressure on 53.3% of his dropbacks. So that was helpful.
That's not too shabby. All right, and then, of course, Antoine Winfield, as he does, making the big play.
Yes, had an interception off the Jamel Dean pass deflection, and then he had 7 tackles and had a well-timed blitz that forced an incompletion, kind of went unblocked, came underneath Hassan Reddick for that hit on Jacoby Brissett. But really, I just think he's twitchy, he's that interchangeable safety, he's all over the field, has a good knack for making plays on the ball, and then has that range to play in the post, but then also the physicality down in the box.
And we're playing the Saints this week, and he has a knack for making big plays.
I think the interception and a fumble recovery
which could have been 2 touchdowns.
I was going to say, I think he might remember that a few things got taken away from him in that game.
Statistical payback.
I wouldn't be surprised if he is going for a little bit of that. That's very true. Well, in terms of defensive notes, I know recently there was a game where I mentioned special teams in the defensive notes because it was not great that they were not necessarily setting up the defense for success because what they were allowing from a kick return standpoint. Well, this week I was like, you know what? I need to mention them as an asset to the defense and the team overall this week because of what they did. So we heard, Riley Dixon Player of the Week. It's because he punted 3 inside the 20. There was that clutch punt before that last drive. And I thought about it. Their longest punt return, 5 yards. Yeah. Their total punt returns, 6 yards. Yeah. That's amazing. And so I thought, man, this was so helpful for the team. Look at that, the way that you're having to make them start these drives far back when you have a backup quarterback in particular. Just a really big asset. And then, of course, Chase McLaughlin just doing what he does. This guy is like, please put me at the 55 or back and I'm good. So 57-yard field goal provided those winning points. And, I just love that he is now the type where we're like, oh, we're back there? Yep, perfect. Yeah. Throw him out there. We don't need to try and go for it on this. We can just send him and we feel good.
Yeah, and that could have been considered a risky decision because we were leading by 1 score in the fourth quarter. And if you don't make that kick, you're giving the ball close to midfield, and they were moving the ball pretty well on offense. So but I started thinking about it afterwards because when Todd Bowles made the decision to do that, I was like, I'm not sure about this. Yeah. And then after the game, I'm thinking, I got to stop feeling that way because literally he's 9 for 9 on field goals of over 50 this year, and most of them aren't just 51.
Yeah,
they're like 55, 57. And if you have that weapon, you should use it.
When you look at analytics, if something has been converted 9 out of 9 times, whatever that is, you feel pretty good about that.
24 of 27 since he joined the Buccaneers. 41 of 48 in his career, and he is second just by few percentage points to Brandon Aubrey of Dallas as the best kicker from beyond 50 in the history of the NFL.
And Chase has such the perfect just mindset of a kicker that he is a guy that is so just kind of unassuming and humble, and he always has got a smile on his face, and he tells Todd Bowles jokes all the time, which apparently Todd makes fun of him for. And I just feel like that is such a mental position. And I look at who Chase is, and it's unsurprising to me that he is the guy who's doing this, that he is so steady that no matter what is going on, he is the same person. And it's just been so great to know what that gives to this team where you feel like offensively, what a weapon he is.
And when Riley Dixon was talking about getting that award yesterday, he was saying a punt is 11 guys. He's like, I do one task in that, which obviously is the most important part of it.
Very big part of it.
Think of Cam Johnson, who was doing a great job as a gunner, even caught one of those in the air. Inside the 10-yard line. So the whole punting unit was really performing at a high level in that game.
That's great. All right, we're going to take one more break, and then we're going to get into this next week's game, the beginning of this run of division games, this one against the Saints, when we come back. Welcome back into Bucs Insider. Casey Phillips, Scott Smith, and Brianna Dix here. We are going to dive into this matchup against the Saints. So, it's interesting whenever you have the second of your 2 matchups against a division opponent, you're kind of wondering, well, what's similar versus what's different from that first time, of how much rinse and repeat can you do from a game planning standpoint. Well, the Bucs are who ushered in the Tyler Shuck era, that we started that game against Spencer Rattler, and then partway through they made a change and they've stuck with that. So now it's interesting to think that they had gone into that game preparing for Rattler, and now you're in that game, of course, when Shuck played, I'm sure their game plan had been tailored for Rattler a bit more. Well, now, I talked to Todd Bowles about it during the show this week, and he was like, now he's got more experience than he did that game, and they've been able to tailor things to him. So you aren't going to have quite as much familiarity as you would in a normal rematch type of game because of this. And so I think that it's also going to be interesting to see how much he tries to throw to Chris Olave, because
I think it'll be a lot.
I think it's going to be a lot. If you're someone, if I asked you to name the top 3 most targeted wide receivers in the NFL.
You did ask me, and I guess Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yep, which he is 4th behind Chris Olave. Right here at 3rd. And I just, that is not what I would have guessed if you'd given me several guesses. And so, he has clearly become, especially when there have been times, they're out, no Alvin Kamara, no other people, he's become the guy. So I think it's, can you take away his clear favorite target and then make Tyler Shuck have to come in and make some other plays to other people, I think is going to be a big part of it. So, and I know, of course, a big part of that will be how much time he has to throw the ball.
Well, I'm talking about their edge rushers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So if you talk about the Saints' defense, their offensive numbers have not been great, and Kamara's gotten hurt a little bit. They traded Rashid Shaheed. They've had some offensive line injuries, but some of their defensive numbers are still quite strong, and it's the guys mostly that we're familiar with. You're going to talk about one of them. I'm going to talk about the edge rushers. Chase Young, Carl Granderson, and the ageless Cameron Jordan. In between them, they have 16 sacks, and they're getting a lot of pressure. Chase Young, in particular, missed the first 5 games of the season, but since he's been back, he has something like a 21% pressure rate, which is huge.
Wow.
Yahya is probably insane. Our highest guy, and I think he's probably around 14 or 15%. So Chase Young is really getting after the quarterback. You remember, at one point, he was the 2nd overall pick in the draft, so they still present a challenge on that part of their defense.
I was thinking about the fact that we just faced the Cardinals, who had Calais Campbell, that we're just like, guy just keeps doing it at such an elite level at such a late age, and I feel like we have the same exact issue with the Saints of like, God, Cam Jordan's still doing it at a high level, and they have plenty of guys who can rush the passer on that side of things, and they also have another guy who's up there in age but doesn't seem to be playing like it.
He's their Levante
Demario Davis, yes, another ageless wonder. He has 111 tackles. That's 5th in the NFL, but he's just kind of sets the standard at that Mike linebacker position. He's played again for so many years, but he has that kind of similar to Levante David, just that cerebral approach to the game. He makes calls out what the offense is going to do prior to the snap, kind of in a place where offensive coordinators have to know where he's lined up every single play. But not only is he effective on kind of blitzes through the A gap at getting to the quarterback, but also he's stout against running backs, tight ends. He's physical in the run game. And Baker Mayfield even said that they're dropping him a lot more now in coverage because of the effectiveness of Chase Young, of Carl Grandison. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, he's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
And he really is like our Levante David because he can excel in all areas of playing linebacker. He can rush the passer, or he can drop into coverage. He's just there.
It flows through.
It's like I don't know if he's quite, maybe he's close to Fred Warner, who everybody says is the best middle of the field guy who can cover and everything. He's kind of in that same category where he's good at taking away the middle of the field.
Yeah, I mean, look, even though their record is not great, we all know how division games go. We all know how games against the Saints can go any which way. And so knowing their defense definitely has some weapons here, we never think this is going to be an easy game, and I think that there's always big chances that they could make some big plays.
New Orleans has won 5 of their last 7 games in Tampa, by the way.
Yep. So it's
and the Buccaneers have won 5 games. They're 5-0 in games decided by 3 points or less, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if this one comes down to the
wire. Yeah, it's very true. All right, we're going to take one more break, and we'll come back here with some fantasy talk right after this. Welcome back into our final segment here on Bucs Insider. Casey Phillips, Scott Smith, and Brianna Dix, and we are now going to be talking some fantasy notes because as guys come back, the question becomes when and if you start them. And now Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin, tell me your thoughts on both of those guys.
In a lot of leagues, this is the final week of the regular season, and if you're one of those teams that's fighting to get that last playoff spot, you have to win this week. I'm in one of those situations, by the way.
This is
Chris
personal.
Godwin's making his first start for me.
You're asking for a friend on what to do.
Last week when we talked about Bucky coming back, we acknowledged that there could be a bit of a pitch count here, and just like there was with Chris Godwin in his first game, and you might want to wait a week. But then I also said, it depends on who's your team. If you don't have a great third option at running back for flex, you can probably take a chance and put him in there. And if you did, you'd paid off because he had the 81 yards from scrimmage and the touchdown, a couple catches, so he's probably on 16 or 17 points. Now, if you have Bucky on your team, he's a must-play.
Start that man.
We saw he is in his pre-injury form, and he's going to get the opportunities. I mean, they said pitch count, and then he was clearly the lead back. He got 85% of the carries. So. And
both of those guys now, at the point in the season when most players are starting to feel run down, they got fresh legs. And so, to me, I mean, looking at both of those guys, knowing how much fresher they are than their counterparts around the league who've been playing all year, if they're fully healthy, then they're also fully rested. And I think that's a really big part of it.
And I think what we saw from Chris, with Mike Evans still probably not playing this week, I would guess. I think Chris is a very solid play.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, so you know what? We feel like this time of year we start every week kind of reevaluating the playoff picture, which we know for the Bucs is always, of course, you want to win the division, then you don't even have to worry about all of that. But it's interesting not just of whether or not you're getting in, but the seeding, who's doing what's coming down here at this final stretch. So what is our current playoff picture after this last kind of crazy week?
Well, I mean, the NFC has really gotten shaken up in the last month. I mean, look at it. Look at this here. The Bears are now the #1 seed. 4 weeks ago, they were in the 8th spot, and weren't even on this graphic. 4 weeks ago, and now they're the #1 seed. So the Buccaneers are kind of at the moment a bit locked into that 4 seed as the NFC South leader because they're still trailing all the others. But we did make up a little ground on the Rams and the Eagles. And just 2 weeks ago, we showed this exact graphic. Obviously, it was different than in the order. Philadelphia was first, now they're third. Chicago was 6th, now they're 1. And Detroit was 3rd, and now they're off the screen.
Off the screen.
So things can change quickly.
Any given Sunday.
Things can change quickly, but the Buccaneers basically, they need to take care of business in the division because if you look at these standings here, they're in the 4th seed, but all 3 wildcard teams below them have a better record right now. So you'd have to catch one of those teams and hold off Detroit and Dallas and so on. So obviously the path is a lot easier if you just And it probably comes down to those 2 Carolina games.
Yeah, I would say as if we didn't already know how important those games were.
Right.
This
Still
now
both to
fully
go.
solidifies it. All right, well, that is going to do it for us on this edition of Buccaneers Insider. Thank you so much for being with us. And again, make sure you go vote for that man, Baker Mayfield, Walter Payton Man of the Year
And
nominee.
watch the docuseries.
And watch the docuseries. We're going to be talking about it here, that's for sure. We'll see you next time.